Okay, what I'm going to talk about now is your light meter and what your light meter is telling you and how it's determining that. This is a histogram. What this little diagram here is a distribution of the pixels in a photo. This is the black end, this is the white end, and these are the midtones. Now, generally speaking, in most situations, you're going to get some kind of approximation of a bell-shaped curve like this. And it's easy to see why. There's not too many things that are pure black, there's not too many things that are pure white, and there's a whole lot of stuff in between. Okay? And you can prove that to yourself by just simply looking out the window or looking around your room. And that's what you'll see. So the histogram is a representation of the distribution of those pixels. Now what a light meter is doing is it's always based on the assumption that the world is mostly a bell-shaped curve. And it's looking for equal amounts of black and white and a whole lot of grays in the middle. Now what that means is it really wants to see a mid-gray. Okay, so we're going to do a little thing here where I'm going to show you how this works and mostly point out some times where you have to be careful when your light meter can get fooled. All right, so we have to do a little pretend here. I want you to pretend that you've got a friend that's a painter, and she has asked you to photograph several of her canvases, 4 of her canvases. And you've acquired a studio in which to shoot. You've got nice lighting set up. Your lights are set up, they're not going to move. Your camera's on a tripod, it's not going to move. The canvases are all exactly the same size, and you're going to start shooting. Okay? So your friend brings in her first canvas, and it looks like this. We'll give it a frame too. Okay, now, maybe that's kind of a boring painting, but nonetheless, you're shooting for your friend, so you withhold your comments and go ahead and photograph it. You take a meter reading of this, and because this is a middle gray, your meter gives you a very accurate reading, and you take a photo. Then she takes that canvas away and brings in the second canvas, and it looks like this. Okay, now even though there is no gray, there are equal amounts of black and white, and we all know that equal amounts of black and white effectively create a gray. So once again, your light meter takes a reading. Because the lights haven't moved, the camera hasn't moved, it's going to give you the same reading as it gave you for this first canvas. So everything's fine, you take your picture. So now she brings in the third canvas. Well, the situation as far as the realities of the light and everything are concerned is exactly the same. This is the same white pigment, this is the same black pigment, and the exposure ought to be exactly the same as it was for this. However, now your light meter is seeing a whole lot of white, and it's going to say, oh my gosh, all of a sudden it got really bright in here, and it's going to tell you to close down your aperture or go to a faster shutter speed to make the photo darker so that this white, instead of being a white, will be a gray. Well, you clearly don't want that. Your meter is being fooled by the fact that it's seeing a whole lot of white and only a little bit of black. And I think, hopefully, think about that for a second and make sure that you understand that the situation is the same and the exposure should be exactly the same. Okay, well then she takes this painting out and brings in the fourth painting. Now, once again, now your light meter is looking at it and it's saying, well, it's gotten really dark in here. Now we have to give this more exposure. If you overexpose a black, you're going to turn it into a gray as well. So there are 2 situations that your meter can easily be fooled. Imagine this is a photograph of a person sitting in front of a bright window with white curtains with light coming through. All right? Your meter can get fooled by that. And this is what you'd end up getting. With this situation, this would be a situation like, say, a person in front of a black background, perhaps a performer on a stage, and we can I'll actually give you a sample here. Here is the kind of reading you would get if you shot a person in front of a black background and just believed your meter. Once again, the meter wants to see this as a gray, and it's going to tell you to overexpose it. A lot of you have probably taken pictures at concerts, and you found that that's true. If you used your camera in an automatic setting, the performers were washed out because there was so much black behind them. This is really the way it should look, and I'm sorry for making you look at a picture of me. So the important thing here to remember is that there's a couple of situations that you just need to be careful, and all that means is try some extra exposures. If you have a little bit of light with a whole lot of black, or if you have a little bit of image with a whole lot of white, those are areas to be careful.